Welcome to Across the Balkans. Great to have you with us on the show. I'm Nafisa Latic. A small town in Montenegro has been thrown into the spotlight over a set of controversial images in one of its churches. The fresco depicts two Bosniak men brandishing weapons, threatening a mother and her baby. Authorities in Rozaje, which has a majority Bosniak population, have urged the Serbian Orthodox Church to remove the motifs. The church agreed to issue a public apology and repaint the walls, but so far it has done neither. Mirjana Miladinovic went to see why many Montenegrins feel offended by the fresco.
A fresco inside a newly renovated church in the Montenegrin town of Rozaje has caused an outcry. The town has a majority Bosniak population, and the fresco shows two Bosniak men with knives trying to attack a mother with a baby. It also depicts a man wearing a World War II Yugoslav partisan uniform, holding a torch next to a burning church, and two men in Ottoman Turkish clothing with swords preparing to attack. And it was only through the media that most residents here learned that the only church in town portrayed them as villains.
Istini za volju, čuli smo glasine malo prije nego je to sve dospjelo u medije i u širu javnost. Negdje smo imali neke poluinformacije, ali smo htjeli da ne vjerujemo da se tako jedna tema tretira u vjerskom objektu, obzirom da smo i mi vjerska zajednica i kod nas ne postoje u islamskoj zajednici, u džamijama, freske i u tom pravcu. Dakle, kod nas su zabranjeni prikazivanje likova, ali znamo iz opšte kulture da su tu obično ikone ili freskopisi svetaca nekih pozitivnih vrijednosti.
However, this was not the case in Rozaje, and the paradox is that the money to restore the church was given mainly by native Bosniaks and Muslims who live abroad.
Zvali su da pomognemo mi crkvu da se renovira, rekli su kao navodno da treba da se renovira ispolja, da kisne, da ulazi voda i vlaga se neka pojavila. Mi smo odmah reagovali, ali nismo se organizovali, nego spontano skupili 30 ljudi i mi smo neku malu donaciju napravili. Nismo očekivali, mislili smo da stvarno to treba kao kogoj potraži pomoć, mi smo tu da pomognemo bilo kome.
They now say they are disappointed, not so much at the church representatives, but at the people who knew of the fresco before it ever reached the media.
Tu mržnju produbljuje ne cijel srpski narod, daleko od toga, nego upravo ta šaka ljudi koja je zlobna. Ja mislim da oni imaju previše vremena u onim manastirima i u tim crkvama, da ništa drugo ne razmišljaju, već kako će zavaditi taj siromašni, jadni narod koji vijekovima se na tom našem prostoru bori za nešto.
Some local Bosniaks and Muslims have since been prevented from entering the church to paint over the controversial fresco. Authorities in the Montenegrin town of Rozaje said they have urged the Serbian Orthodox Church to remove the controversial fresco from the newly renovated Rozaje church. Places of worship should not have, as they said, images that can cause discontent among the people. Representatives of the Serbian Orthodox Church have now met with the municipality to discuss the problem that threatens to rekindle ethnic tensions.
Mislim da smo na tom sastanku pokušali, makar na neki konstruktivan način, da damo do znanja da to nisu potezi koji treba da vuku odgovorne institucije, prije svega i vjerske zajednice. Ako uzmemo u obzir da u kojem društveno-političkom ambijentu se nalazi i Crna Gora i naše društvo, mislim da su te i takve stvari i takvi postupci nešto što doprinosi nekim drugim remelatičkim faktorima i mislim da to nije sad bilo ni vrijeme, a pogotovo s tim što to nema ni historijske činjenice.
The Serbian Orthodox Church did agree to issue a public apology and repaint the walls of the church. but so far it has done neither. We tried to reach the representatives of the Serbian Orthodox Church to hear their side of the story, but the doors of the church were locked. The representative of the Serbian church in Rozaje has since told us in a brief telephone conversation that he has nothing to say to the public, except that the fresco that has caused the outcry is called the Rozaje Martyrs and that it depicts historical events.
Mislimo da je crkva posebno u jednoj sredini kao što je ova mjesto gdje treba podizati naraštaje, generacije na tim stvarima. Neka historija kaže svoje, pa će uzeti širi kontekst, pa će se tu onda o toj temi pričati na jednom drugom nivou, ali ne mislimo da je vjerski objekat taj koji treba da odgaja nove generacije, vjerovatno da imaju vjersku pouku gdje djeca to gledaju, pa će ona pitati šta je ovo, zbog čega ovaj čiko nosi onaj fes kojeg nosi i ja kao imam, i zbog čega je on sa mačem, nožem, čime god, onaj nad bebom nekom, je li su oni toliko zli pa su nas klali, nas kolju ili da li treba da se koljemo i dalje. Ne mislim da je crkva mjesto gdje to treba da bude tema, već da se podižu generacije, da se tamo promoviše ljubav.
The donors have a message for church representatives.
Ja ću im isto dati novac za to krečenje i za nove ikonopise, ali koji odgovaraju današnjem vremenu.
It is not the first time in Montenegro that frescoes in Serbian Orthodox churches have caused a stir. A fresco inside the largest church of the capital Podgorica depicts the former parliament speaker Ranko Krivokapić as a devil, while the previous prime minister Zdravko Krivokapić also found his place on the walls. But the church was quick to paint over the image of the former prime minister, saying it ended up there by mistake and without their knowledge. And doing the same in Rozaje may well also brush up on fractured relations with the Bosniak community. Mirjana Miladinovic, TRT World, Podgorica, Montenegro.
Let's cross to Podgorica. Daliborka Uljarević is there for us. She's a political analyst and an executive director of the Center for Civic Education. Daliborka, hello, great to have you with us.
Hello, and hello to your viewers.
Why would Daliborka Rozaje church officials go ahead with this fresco in a time of increased political tensions in your country?
I think that this is one of the examples that actually underlines that Serbian Orthodox Church in Montenegro is not only a religious community, it's also a very highly profiled political organization that uses often its power and its influence to spread nationalistic and the interpretations of the past which are not based on the science. And unfortunately, this fresco was also misused for such false interpretation of the past, which was only further deepening polarizations based on the ethnic and religious difference.
Do you think they will eventually repaint the walls? They promised this after the outrage we have seen.
Nobody can understand the motives that this fresco should remain, especially taking into account, and I think this is very important to underline, that we have these morbid images of the neighbors who helped the building of that church. But I'm not sure that we can trust Serbian Orthodox Church in that, because when they had this kind of the intention, which is certainly not the good one, I would be very reluctant to believe that they are sincere in understanding the damage they have made and that they want to make up for that mistake. But this does not. This is not an excuse for anybody of us not to push for this repainting.
What is the role of Serbian Orthodox Church in Montenegro, and why is this institution so powerful?
The Serbian Orthodox Church is one of the most trusted institutions in the society for quite some time, but I don't see that this trust is followed by the responsibility. I think that Serbian Orthodox Church has accepted to be a medium of Serbian leader Aleksandar Vučić and his aspirations in Montenegro, neglecting its primary role of the religious organization, which should be actually helping the society to reconcile and to, in different ways, make the progress. In various occasions, Serbian Orthodox Church is actually more presenting itself as a political player than as the social actor, which could actually be outside of the daily politics.
The outgoing Prime Minister Dritan Abazovic's government has been criticized for signing a fundamental agreement with the Serbian Church. We covered it here on Across the Balkans as well. The move has also led to a prolonged political crisis in Montenegro. What impact did the agreement have on Abazovic's time in office?
I think from this timeline, we can surely say that signing of that agreement in that period and with that text, with the full ignorance of the interested stakeholders, has actually stopped the Montenegrin way to the European Union, because we were supposed to make quite a breakthrough because of the different objective circumstances, but that has further split the society, raised the tension, and we lost this opportunity. We lost this window of opportunity that has been open in a short period of time. But it's also worthwhile of reminding that Abazovic did that with full awareness that public interest will be jeopardized, but he had the intention to prioritize the private interest, the interest of one religious community, Serbian Orthodox Church.
Presidential candidate Draginja Vuksanović-Stanković has called on the Constitutional Court to look into the agreement signed between Abazovic and the Church. What is then the future of this agreement?
This will be a very serious test for the credibility and professionalism of the judges of the Constitutional Court, especially taking into the account that presidential candidate Vuksanović-Stanković is a lawyer. She also used very solid legal arguments that we have heard from the experts during the short debate on that text. And I honestly believe that this will decide also whether this court will be looked as the partisan or the professional court, which is able to decide based on the Constitution. It's very important that the court brings the decision about this case, and that we know whether this text is in line with the Constitution, as it has been too many allegations from serious lawyers that this is not in line with our constitutional order. Plus, I have to also say that it undermines the civic concept of Montenegrin state.
So, Daliborka, just briefly at the end, how significant is the relationship between the Serbian Orthodox Church and the future Prime Minister of Montenegro for the future of the country inside the EU?
That relation is not beneficial for the interest of Montenegro. I mean, Serbian Orthodox Church has in many ways demonstrated that they don't acknowledge the laws of state of Montenegro. We even had the patriarch, Serbian patriarch last year, who said, referring to Montenegrin laws, that they are not binded by these local laws. So it means that even the state of Montenegro as such is not acknowledged. I believe that we are approaching the extraordinary parliamentary elections, that citizens will have a say on that, and that we will have the new structures with renewed legitimacy who will be able to decide about some of the most heating issues in the country, and one of them would be definitely further position of the Serbian Orthodox Church.
Daliborka Uljarević, thank you for your time. Let's look at other stories making headlines in the region this week. Slovenian Prime Minister Robert Golob paid an official visit to Bosnia and Herzegovina, where he met members of the presidency and parliament representatives. Bosnia's integration into the European Union topped the agenda. In December last year, with the initiative of Slovenia, the European Council granted Bosnia candidate status. Following the meeting, Golob said the critics of the EU's expansion have become more open following Russia's attack on Ukraine, and Bosnia should take advantage of the circumstances. He also added that Slovenia is not just a friend to Bosnia, but also its biggest ally. Public anger is growing in Greece 2 weeks after a train crash near the northern town of Tempe left 57 people dead. Tens of thousands took to the streets across the country, and workers went on strike, accusing authorities of years of neglect. Clashes broke out at the rallies in Athens, where strikes halted ferries and public transport services. The Greek government has blamed the crash mainly on human error and defects that haven't been fixed for decades.
We see that the problem right there was not some random accident that occurred during that moment. It's a problem with privatization, and the workers in the railways have been protesting for years over the privatization of their trains, of their jobs, because the security measures were completely forgotten.
The global economy, which was already reeling from the COVID-19 pandemic, was upended last year following Russia's attack on Ukraine. Food and energy prices skyrocketed across the world as sanctions on Russia's oil and gas sectors plummeted supplies. Higher energy costs have translated into price hikes across the board, and nowhere is that more evident than in the Balkans. Let's take a closer look at inflation rates in the region. 5 Balkan countries ended 2022 with inflation rates above 11%. Despite seeing a 14.8% spike in December last year, Bosnia was able to get that number down to 14.1% in January, its lowest level in 9 months. And in North Macedonia for 2022, the country saw an inflation rate of 14%. A weekly shopping trip in Montenegro also became more expensive, where prices rose by almost 12%. Its neighbors, Serbia and Kosovo, also saw sharp rises, with both experiencing inflation rates over 11.5% for 2022. Croatia's inflation hit 11.7% in February. It has also seen sudden price hikes following its recent switch to the euro. Despite the government saying it would not tolerate unfair increases and threatening to penalize businesses that break the law, everyday Croatians are still worried. Veljko Skednerija reports from Zagreb.
Croatians have entered the new year in the Eurozone, but it's come with the unwanted gift of price hikes. That's despite officials promising that a switch to the euro would not leave people shortchanged. The phones do not stop ringing here at the Consumer Protection Association, with angry consumers reporting price increases by the minute.
Tim više što smo svi bili uvjeravani da se neće ništa drastično desiti, da ako nešto poskupi, poskupit će cent, 2, 3, kako su govorili premijer i guvernera, onda smo evo svjedočili da su bila poskupljenja 20%, 30%, 50%, 80% pa i 100%.
Croatians were told that the impact would be minor, at no more than 0.4%. This was assured by the Prime Minister, who blames the current hikes on corporate greed.
To je neopravdano. Dakle, čisto profiterstvo, to je lov u mutnome pojedinih poslovnih subjekata i mi ćemo se tome snažno usprostaviti mjerama vlade u narednom razdoblju.
But it seems the whole situation has caught the government completely off guard. One high-profile trade union leader says Croatia is the 20th country to enter the Eurozone, so it should have learned from the experience of its predecessors.
Susjedna Slovenija je godinu dana prije uvođenja eura već redovno pratila jedan cijeli splet cijena kojima se iz svaka 2 tjedna gledalo koliko su rasle, kako, i to su radile potrošačke udruge. To je bilo izuzetno dobro. Radili su to u kombinaciji sa crnim listama i čim bi netko iskočio, to se odmah vidjelo, korigiralo se.
But the truth is that no other country has ever introduced the euro during a period of such high inflation, and businesses are rejecting claims of profiteering.
Nije im bilo u interesu ikako imati da bi prevarili potrošače, svoje kupce u kojima ovise i kojima žive.
Smolja Katić says, although there are some violations, they are mostly in the service sector. For example, at hairdressers or cafes, Croats are now paying up to 30% more for their favorite cup of coffee.
U našem slučaju to je bilo 2-3 centa i nije bilo neko značajna razlika. Tako da niko nije baš previše da je obraćao previše pažnju, ali u drugim slučajevima sam čuo da je to malo drugačije, da se osjetno razlikuje od prvobitne cijene.
Mate's Cafe appears to be an example of good business practice. Coffee with milk is rounded up to 1.6 euros, which represents a mere increase of 0.06 kuna or less than 1 cent. But if this is an issue right now in Croatia, it's simply because many businesses seem to have other ideas. And we've come to Croatia's largest open market Dolac here in Zagreb to see what people really think. Whether they believe the government, which accuses businesses for the price hikes, or the businesses who blame it on inflation and insist that prices have stayed the same since January 1st.
Tijekom prošle godine se poskupljivalo malo po malo, ajmo reći, ali ajmo reći da se primijetio sad kad se prešlo na euro, pa se vidi baš. Ne za okruživanje nužno, ne znam je li je ili nije, ali da je osjeti se ta razlika.
Jesu, pa to bez daljnjega. Mislim, to svi pričaju, svi su primijetili, a i čak i u vladi su primijetili, pa sad hoće nekakve mjere poduzeti kad smo vidjeli. Je li ima rezultata od toga?
Jesam. Jako puno. Ali to se još za očekivati bilo, jer su svi dizali cijene i prije toga.
Ivana runs the nearby family farm Božiković. She says the traders at Dolac have not raised prices, but that her business is suffering all the same.
Što bi kupila primjer prije za frižider za 1200 kuna, sad platim 2. I prazniji frižider, manje i praznije, znači sve. Abnormalno je sve išlo od dućane gore.
Despite everyday Croatians complaining they can no longer make ends meet, businesses have insisted that it had nothing to do with the rising prices. But that was until the government sent inspectors. They found that 30% of business entities had unjustifiably increased prices. And that's not all.
Preko 70% poslovnih subjekata su tijekom inspekcijskog nadzora, odnosno neposredno do okončanja inspekcijskog nadzora, vratili cijene upravo što je definirano zaključkom vlade, a to je na onu početnu cijenu, to je cijenu prije uvođenja eura, odnosno na cijenu 31. prosinca 2022. godine.
Judging by this, prices were unfairly raised at almost every shop. So far, more than $500,000 in fines have been collected, and businesses are returning the prices to the pre-euro period. That's good news, especially for pensioners, some of who live on just $390 a month.
Naše cijene su na razini negdje 98,4% prosjeka Europske unije, a naša primanja su na razini 40% prosjeka Europske unije.
And that's another problem. Croatia is simply expensive, and in terms of buying power, it's one of the worst in the European Union. And while the government rages at businesses, it tends to overlook the fact that people go shopping in neighboring countries because of its tax policies. For example, here in Slovenia, the same product from the same manufacturer in the same retail chain can be bought for half of the price. Even a quick glance at a catalog of the same retail chain makes it clear that almost all groceries are cheaper in Slovenia. And that is why Croats cross the border en masse every day, especially on weekends.
Mlijeko je nekad bilo 9 kuna, pa je bilo 12, sad ga ispod 14, 15 ne možete dobiti. Kako? I to u roku od 2 mjeseca, znači otišao je sa 9 na 14. To je preko 50%.
Ja sam došel ovdje jer je tu jeftinije nego u Zagrebu. Naprimjer, ove batki, tam je 42 kune, tu je 3 eura. Tu je u subotu nedjelju pokupuju crne dućane. Plati.
And while Croats flock to Slovenia and other neighboring countries for basic necessities, officials in Zagreb have threatened businesses with drastic measures unless they drop the prices. Along with the existing fines, waiving subsidies for both energy use and taxes are on the table. And the government may also pass a law to have the prices return to what they were before the euro. Veljko Skanderija, TRT World, Zagreb, Croatia and Brežice, Slovenia.
That's it for this week from me and the team here in Istanbul. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.